Welcome to the Cathedral of Wing Sprint Car Racing, Knoxville, Iowa. There's a lot at stake for all the competitors on this celebrated dirt. A great finish here can build a reputation, while a bad showing at Knoxville, well, it takes a long time to forget. The message repeated in the head of every competitor is just do it. Hold nothing back. This is Knoxville, and this is Knoxville 93. Welcome, everyone, to the world capital of sprint car racing, Knoxville, Iowa. I'm Steve Evans, and along with a big crowd, I'm looking forward to tonight's event because we're going to see over 80 wing sprinters, ranging from outlaw legends to Billy the Kid wannabes, and we got Brock Yates. Anybody you like from time trials earlier?
I'll tell you what, Steve, I like anybody that can keep it between the fences here at Knoxville. Tough place to run. But, as you know, I'm a legendary spotter of talent. Found you. Sorry, folks. But in any case, there's a guy by the name of Terry McCarl who's right down here in the black 27. He's a local guy, runs out of Des Moines, been in and out of the Outlaws for a number of years. He's very bright, he's very articulate, knows how to handle a race car, and runs here regularly on a weekly basis. And I'll tell you what, I think this guy is going to be tough tonight.
Well, he time trialed number 2, and Brock had a chance to talk with him.
Yeah, a lot of times with the Outlaws, I don't think anymore the locals have a big advantage, but we've been running here all year long, and we kind of see what track conditions have been all year long, and they've been pretty consistent, so we feel we have a little bit of advantage over some of the guys, but the good Outlaw guys can adapt to any type of track conditions. So.
This racetrack, I know about the rain that you guys have had, but it looks like it's running real well, and pretty nice warm night. Is this about what you'd expect for August in Knoxville?
Well, it usually rains at the Nationals one night, maybe, but we've been rained out, I think, 8 times. It's a new record here at Knoxville this year, so that's where I do have a little advantage on the track conditions. Normally, the track isn't like this, but they've got a lot of rain this year. We've ran under a lot of conditions like this, so we're looking to run well tonight. We got a good time trial in. That's one obstacle out of the way, so if we can get through this heat race, I think we'll do pretty well.
Well, Brock, you're right. He is an articulate kid.
Yeah, he's really good. And I'll tell you what, amongst all these guys, there's some real bright ones. I'm sure you got somebody that you kind of figure is going to be a contender tonight.
Anytime we come to Knoxville, I'll go with experience. How about a guy named Kinser, as in Mark Kinser? He time trialed number 1, and I chatted with him. Mark, I listened to both of your time trial laps very carefully. I never heard you lift off the throttle. You just buried it.
Yeah, here at Knoxville, it's got a real nice contour to the track, so you can go right around there just virtually flat out.
Would you call this then a power racetrack?
Oh, it certainly is. Anytime you come here to the Nationals and you haven't got a good hitting motor and a pretty good car, your chances are pretty slim.
What's going to happen during the course of the race, though? Will it get better? Will it get worse like it usually does?
Well, I would say it will slicken out. You know, with the dirt racing, it'll change in an 8-lap heat race. Boy, it'll change a lot. So I'm fortunate enough to have 2 good mechanics with Scott Miller and Joe Hawk. They do a good job, and they're always right on top of the situation.
All right, you have heard from the top 2 in qualifying, but let's remember, tremendous talent behind them, in fact, through the entire field. How about Sammy Swindell is back from the NASCAR Stock Car Wars. We've got Kenny Jacobs, Danny Lasowski, just to name 3. All right, the first race is bump starting right now. Let's go up to Brock.
Steve, we've got 10 laps coming up here. The field is inverted. That puts Mark Kinser in the 5 at the back. Now, 4 of these cars are going to advance to the A main. 4 more will go to the B main, and 2 more will go to the C main. We've got 9 cars out there in this heat race, 10 laps, as I said, and some good ones. Kevin Fry, Chris Esch on the front row, Dean Jacobs, Craig Eschnauer in the second row, Joey Saldana, Joe Garrity, good runners there. And coming up at the back, Jeff Shepard, and of course Mark Kinser and Keith Kaufman. That's the Weichert car out of Pennsylvania, and you know how good Kaufman is. Very, very experienced driver.
All right, these are alcohol-burning, 410 cubic inch, for the most part, aluminum replica Chevrolet small block motors. You just stand on the gas and go.
All right, sweeping off turn number 4. The green is out. That started Doug Clark waving the green as they come down and take the first lap.
I'll tell you, the car to watch here is Chris Ish, 17E, the yellow machine. He time trialed badly or would have been further in the back in this inverted deal.
Well, he runs for his dad out of Pennsylvania, but the 20 car, that's Kevin Fry. He runs for Bob Crossell, of course, is a major name here in Iowa sprint car racing. Great car builder. And Fry, a young driver who now runs regularly, started in the Pennsylvania deal, and is a good driver. So these 2 young drivers going at it, and each goes by for the lead.
Just flies by Mr. Fry. And let's remember also that Kevin's car owner, Bob Trosso, you talked about, he's the only man to ever field a car here for 33 consecutive years.
There is Mark Kinser moving up through the field. Remember, he was the #1 qualifier as he moves up, trying to get up here to a point where he transfers, hopefully, into the A main. Remember, the top 4 finishers will go right to the main event.
All right, that was Kinser passing Dean Jacobs in the 18H car, and Kinser is really showing some stuff. And right now, the most important thing for these guys is to make sure you get directly to the A main. If you feel comfortable out there and you think you've got a transfer spot like 17 does, maybe you play the track a little bit. How good is it low, in the middle, up high? Learn something.
All right, here comes Kinser, and he is on the move. He's attacking Kevin Fry for that second position. Down the front straightaway, gets a little high out there. Fry stays down low. Can he hold him off? No way.
Well, Mark Kinser is starting to prove that the cushion, as they call it, up high where you see all that loose dirt, is starting to be a good place to get a drive out of that corner. He had plenty of traction and made that pass cleanly on Kevin Fry.
Okay, Mark Kinser running alone right now, but Chris Ash, he's moved way out into the lead. I don't know whether he's going to catch him. The white flag is out for Ash. Here comes Kinser. You can see that interval, and I don't think Mark's got a shot unless Ash really gets in trouble in these final 2 corners.
But there again, you saw Kinser get up high and try that cushion. Getting a master's degree on this racetrack in heat #1, and here comes the winner. That is Chris Ash. Takes the checkered flag from Doug Clark in the 17E car. Goes directly to the A main, as will Mark Kinser and the 2 drivers that finished behind him. So the results of heat #1 show Chris East, the winner from the #2 spot. Mark Kinser, #2, all the way from the back. Kevin Fry also advances to the A main. So does Dean Jacobs. Keith Kaufman to the B, along with Jeff Shepard, Joe Saldana, Joe Garrity. Craig Ischenauer goes to the C. Brock?
Well, Mark, I know heat races are exploratory missions, as it were, but it's nice to run up front and break out of the pack. I know you couldn't catch Chris, but it looked like the race car is pretty well hooked up. You got to be pretty pleased.
Yeah, we're pretty pleased. Chuck Merle Maxim does a real nice job. Jerry Russell does a real nice job welding them for us. Chris, you know, he's a real good competitor, and when he gets up front like that, he's real hard to run down.
Indeed he was. All right, the field is forming up for the start of heat #2. There's a strong runner up in the front row. Tommy Estes Jr. didn't qualify that well, but in the heats, that's an advantage.
No question about it. Tommy out of Oklahoma, one of the really good runners. Experience, I would imagine he's going to do well. Terry Gray, he's kind of in the middle of the field. He's one of the Tennessee gang out of Bartlett, Tennessee. Aaron Berryhill is that young man from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. He always runs a good car, and of course I talked about Terry McCarl earlier. He's starting scratch, much like Mark Kinser did, because he qualified so well.
And don't you know, the hometown fans will be watching the McCarl boys, Kenny and Terry, as this second heat unfolds. Same rules applied, 10 laps. The entire field is inverted. 4 to the A, 4 to the B, 2 to the C.
All right, at the back, that's McCarl and Frankie Kerr out of Pennsylvania. Another good runner is Doug Clark from the green.
Good alert driving on the start there. Sometimes the quick guys in the back tend to stand on the gas a little too soon, but not here. Just an ideal start.
All right, Tommy Estes Jr. breaks out real quick to take the lead away from Bob White as well. Tommy Estes Jr. looks as if he's got a clear shot here, unless he has some car problems, because Terry McCarl, Barry Hill, Bray, some of the fast guys in the back got to work their way through traffic.
And don't you know, all of these drivers very closely watched that first heat. They were all on the fence. They saw just how well the track was for Chris East and Mark Kinser. And everybody is right now not afraid to go up just a little bit high. All right, here we see the 27 car that started last. Terry McCarl is already in 6th. He has to gain 2 more places. That is 61A Terry Gray in front of him. Oop. No longer in front of him. Sweeping to the outside is McCarl, and Terry makes it stick. He still needs another spot, though, Brock, to go to the A.
That's right, and he is moving up right now on the 12 car. That is Skip Jackson. Jackson trying to hold him off, but here comes McCarl on the outside, on the high side, down into turn #1. Works his way through turn 2, nose to nose down the back straightaway. McCarl, like Kinser in the earlier heat, is working the high side, and Jackson, can he hold him off? No. Terry McCarl up into third.
Now, it's fascinating to watch these drivers. All the turns are, of course, left-handed, but how often they actually move the wheel to the right, just like you were taught drivers at high school. If you're in a slide or a skid steer into the direction you're in, and that's how you get a sprint car around a big oval like this.
Sure is. A lot of what we call counter steering in driver education, as I recall. These guys turn right as much as they turn left as they get around this oval, almost flat out. There's the 39 car of Bob White. He currently sits in second spot. I don't know whether McCarl can catch him or not.
Well, first of all, Terry McCarl has to be concerned with the 1K car of Craig Delansky because he is running in the third position. Right now, McCarl, if he can just hang on to fourth, he has had a pretty good effort.
White flag out as we've got one more lap, a half-mile left here. And right now, Tommy Estes Jr. has complete command of this race. Here comes McCarl. Going to try to nip by Delansky as they head down into turn number 3. I don't know whether he can do. Look at this. McCarl on the high side. Drag race. Here comes the winner, Tommy Estes Jr. And Delansky holds off Terry for the third spot.
Well, he had the favorite line coming out of 4 there, the shortest way around that area from 4 to the finish line, and he hangs on to that third position, Craig Delansky.
So the transfer spot, the final one, goes to Terry McCarl. However, Terry Gray, Frankie Kerr, Aaron Berryhill, some of the faster runners in that heat are doomed to work their way into the A feature if they can make it through the B and C feature. So a tough break for those guys, but the top 4 guys, they're sitting pretty right now. However, Terry McCarl, well, we sort of expected him to move up a little more than he did. Let's go down to Steve to find out what his situation was.
You'd have liked a little more cushion on that transfer spot. You'd rather been third than fourth.
Yeah, I think with another couple feet there, we might have got third, but motor was a little cold to start. We didn't start it up when we qualified so early. It was a little cold, but it got going and had to run the heck out of the top there on the cushion. Everybody's on the bottom, and it's tough up there. You had to really cowboy it, but that was fun.
Could you not get down on the bottom?
I could get to the bottom, but most of the guys were right there with me, and I couldn't make up much on them because they were in my way, so I had to kind of go up there, especially early in the race. So I like to run on top anyway. That's a lot funner.
It had a little bit of push in it, it looked like.
I was a little pushy time trialing. We still got a little push in it up on the top. I was a little better on the bottom, actually, but I don't know if that's just the track. The track's kind of funny tonight. It's staying wet. I used a lot of tear-offs for a heat race, so we're going to have to figure it out a little better for the feature.
See you in the A feature.
That's right.
Getting ready for heat number 2, and one of the favorite competitors here at Knoxville has been Sammy Swindell. Earlier, I had a chance to talk to an old friend.
Sam, maybe this is a stupid question. You tell me. You've been doing this all of your life, but to be out of the car almost 8 months, does that dull any of your skills even a little bit?
Well, no, I don't think so. The only thing that's hurting us is just having a little time on the car, working with some new people. And they've got some new, different tires out than we had when I ran last year. So just trying to put the whole program together and those few little things. But it feels good right now.
As they say, Brock, looking for the setup.
That's right, and believe me, these things are hard to set up. A lot of people think that you just jump in and stab it and steer it, as they used to say, and that was possible in the old days. But these are very sophisticated chassis and very difficult to set up. Got some great runners in this field. There's Rocky Hodges up there in row 3, Sammy Swindell, we know about him. And look at this, back in row 5, Stevie Smith and Lance DeWeese. We know about Stevie. He's one of the best of the young outlaw group. But Lance DeWeese, he's out of Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, 27 years old. We're going to hear more about him, Steve. He is a fine, fine prospect in sprint cars.
Oh, yeah, he won the Port Royal Championship, one of the toughest tracks on the Pennsylvania circuit, and was quick time at the 1992 Syracuse Mile, and that's raw guts.
Oh boy, 1 mile at 140 plus miles an hour as the green drops, and that is car number 3, Kenny Hansen, taking the lead. Right behind him, that's Tim Lewis, started in the second spot, but look at Hansen fly. He's broken away from the field. Had a little challenge there briefly from Lewis, but right now it's Hansen all alone out front.
And we're looking at the fight for that second position between number 3, Tim Lewis, and 8-8, Butch Hansen. Whoa, to the back there you saw 77 Stevie Smith just blow his way into third position. Fast to you, Rocky Hodges and Butch Hansen.
You know, Steve, a lot of people think Stevie Smith Jr. has a chance to become the next great dominant force in outlaw competition after Steve Kinser moves on, because this young man out of Pennsylvania, the son of a great sprint car driver, Steve Smith, runs for a very stable operation. The Hamilton Racing team, they've been together. They know what they're doing. It's an extremely competent operation.
And there he takes second place away from Tim Lewis. Stevie Smith was just back there like a chicken hawk, just waiting for his opportunity to get into the coop. Boy, when he saw it, he took it.
Notice Smith is working on both the high side and the low side of the racetrack. That 77 works down low and it works up on top as he blasts by Hansen to take the lead. So Stevie Smith, for the first time tonight, has come from the back to the front in really dominant fashion. We saw Mark Kinser get as high as second, but Carl come out of the back to get the fourth. But look at Smith.
And here is Sammy Swindell. He is in fifth position behind Lance DeWeese we talked about earlier. And Sammy is having a heck of a time with that automobile. I'm not sure who's driving who. He mentioned they still weren't used to the car. They had, he didn't use the word setup, I did. And that the tires were different, and that could be a huge factor here. That car is all over the racetrack.
Well, that's a coil-over car, which are those type cars are more difficult to set up anyway. Only a few guys are using the coil-over setup as opposed to the 4-bar torsion bar suspension. And as you say, Sammy has got big problems with that car right now.
There's Rocky Hodges, the blue U2 car. He has got around Kenny Hansen for the second spot. The Rock from the Indianapolis area is really strutting his stuff now. Boy, he's a good guy and a good racer.
He sure is. Rocky really is a total professional, as they say. But right now, it's Stevie Smith Jr. has just walked away from everybody, dominating this third heat race here.
And going back and forth for the third position, the 3H car, Kenny Hansen and Lance DeWeese in that 461. Right now it's Hansen in the third spot. DeWeese defending the final transfer to the A main spot. There's the white flag. We got one lap to go, and there's your leader, Stevie Smith.
Smith absolutely dominant here. The most overwhelming performance so far tonight by the 77 driver, Stevie Smith Jr., down to take the checkered flag as he heads off turn number 4.
And there you see his smiling face with the helmet up. His father, Steve Smith, is still a very competitive and active sprint car driver.
So the results on heat number 3 shows Stevie Smith going to the A main with a nice win. Also going to the A, Rocky Hodges, Lance DeWeese, and Kenny Hansen. Missing the A, having to go to the B, is Sammy Swindell. Gary Wright also to the B, along with Tim Lewis and Blake Robertson. Butch Hansen and Tim Baker, well, they'll be in the C main. Let's go to Brock with Stevie Smith.
Well, I'll be honest. That's got to be pretty close to the setup you were looking for.
Well, yeah, we got a good start there.
Yeah.
A couple cars slid off the bottom, and we just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And sometimes the bottom's good on the original start, and sometimes the top's better. It just worked out for us. The bottom was open.
Car, though, once you got out front, looked like it'd work almost any place on the racetrack.
Yeah, the car felt real good. We got the motor running good, and everything's working good. I just hope we can be up in the front in the feature and try to win it.
Well, this is always a big horsepower racetrack, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's they do a good job, so all the horsepower you can get will sure help you here at Knoxville.
Well, let's hope it stays with you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks again.
You girls at home, a little wink there from Stevie Smith. It's a nice, Brock, to go to a dirt track where nobody's complaining about the surface, because that is really rare.
Well, Steve, the guys here at Knoxville do an excellent job of track preparation. Ralph Capitani, the race director, Earl Wagner, Dwayne Roebuck, all the guys on staff here really work hard. And, of course, the racetrack is used every week, so it isn't like they come in here once a year, a couple of times a year, and have to lay this track in. It's really, really properly put together. And with a lot of moisture in the ground here in Des Moines, the Des Moines area, of course, with the tremendous rains that they've had, this track has a lot of cushion in it right now.
All right, your hitters are at the back. 12X, Danny Smith, Kenny Jacobs, Andy Hillenberg. The green is out for heat number 4.
Here they come, and it's Mike Peters in the 66 that takes the lead. Just drives right underneath Ricky Logan, and came off the front row as well. All right, watch Peters up on top as Logan comes back at him on the bottom, but it seems like Peters works both high and low with that 66 car, Steve, and you got to be able to do that here in Knoxville if you're going to go anywhere.
Absolutely, and at the back of the pack, Andy Hillenberg, the number 2 car. He has already charged from 10th to 7th, and here we see making a move and passing the XO car of Mark Kagan and that yellow machine in front of him. That is Kenny Jacobs. He'll be a little tougher to get. Or will he? Look at, whoa.
Oh, no, Jacobs is flying. They've Remember now, that's a new team for Jacobs. That's Dan Motter, the car owner, and Deuce Terrell, the excellent crew chief, has taken over that machine. And Kenny Jacobs is having a fine season on the World of Outlaws Tour simply because of that new operation that he's driving for.
All right, here again, we watch the number 2 car. That is Andy Hillenberg, and he gets around Chris Walraven for the 5th spot. He's got 1 to go. Kenny Jacobs in the yellow machine is now in the 4th and final transfer spot.
All right, here they come down the back straightaway. That's the 12 car of Danny Smith. There is the 47 car of Ricky Logan. He's the target for tonight, because if those guys can get by him, they're into the A main without having to work their way through the B and C features.
And there you see the 2 car trying to get underneath Kenny Jacobs in that 11 machine. You're looking at 2nd through 5th right here. And Kenny Jacobs gets under the 47 machine of Ricky Logan. Andy Hillenberg also gets under Logan.
So suddenly Logan goes to the back of that little mob scene as Kenny Jacobs moves up into 2nd position. Hillenberg almost tapped the wall down the back straightaway.
Well, I tell you, he just about lost that thing, and he is in the final transfer spot right now. And I'm sure that was part of the pressure. And they're doing wheelies coming out of the corners now as this track really gets tacky.
All right, there's Jacobs, Danny Smith, and right behind him, Andy Hillenberg. They've opened out a little bit. Here comes your leader. That is Mike Peters, heading down what appears to be an unchallenged victory. A half-mile left for him to move on to the A main. So Mike Peters doing a good job. Came off the front row and is unchallenged. Here he comes. And he will take the win here in this heat. So Mike Peters, good job. Kenny Jacobs in 2nd. He came out of the back row all the way up to 2nd. Good job by Kenny Jacobs. Couldn't catch this man, though. Mike Peters will win it. Heat number 4 moves into the A main.
Well, inverted or not, the 9th and 10th runners ended up 2nd and 4th, both going to the A main. And a tribute to Mike Peters and his 66P car out of Wichita that he was able to hold off that kind of talent. So here it is. Peters, Jacobs, Smith, and Hillenberg all go into the A. Ricky Logan in the 47 car. He leads the charge into the B main. And if you get that far, you're still not completely out of it. Mark Keegan on the bubble there. John Kearney and Gary Rush, well, they got their work cut out for him. Brock?
Steve, I'm with Mike Peters, who just ran away from the field there. A super race. My race car really hooked up.
Thank you. We had it pretty close for the running down on the bottom down there, and it worked real well for us. We'll just have to keep making a few changes and watching the track for the A feature, but hopefully we can get it that close later on.
Let's hope so. Let's hope Knoxville doesn't trick you later in the night.
I hope not. It's notorious for that, but we'll try to keep an eye on it.
We sure hope so. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Steve?
The middle of that heat, you were traveling 4th in the final transfer spot, and Hillenberg was right on your nerve bar. You had to move up.
Yeah, I had no idea. I actually thought I won the race. I didn't know how far ahead Mike Peters was, so I didn't know. I thought I was dicing for 3rd there, and heck, I was still dicing for 4th, so we're lucky we got in. Things are good. We'll make a couple changes. We'll be better for the A, and we can win this race.
You can too.
Here's Brock to set up the C feature.
10 laps, and only 3 drivers will transfer to the B main, and that, of course, will continue, hopefully, for a few guys, a movement into the A main and a chance at the big money.
All right, the C in features stands for consolation or crash, which often happens because, as they say, desperate men do desperate things, and if you're not in the top 3 here, you don't make any more money.
We've got 18 cars out here. Most of these drivers less experienced, a lot of them moving up in career-wise and hoping for good rides, and a bunch of fine young drivers potentially in this field. Kenny McCarl on the pole, Craig Eschnauer on the outside of the front row.
And the yellow 66, Kenny McCarl. He positioned himself perfectly down in turn 4, was on the gas right at, or maybe a little before, the white stripe, and he zooms out into the lead. And I have to tell you, number 86, John Kearney, had a fantastic start. He moved from 6th right up into 2nd.
I'll tell you what, this Kansas driver is showing a lot here. As you said, Steve, he started well back in the field, back at 6th spot, and look at him come. Kearney just charging.
And taking a cue from Kearney was the guy that started behind him, Jimmy Carr in the 65C car. He just followed Kearney, raced for daylight, and both of them are just streaking up through this field.
Look at this racetrack. It is so well prepared, Steve, that you can run just about anywhere you want. That's 86 up there. Kearney going high while Jimmy Carr stays down in the bottom. But the racetrack just is almost perfect all the way around. Cushion starting to build on the outside of the racetrack that Kearney is using well now.
In fact, the track is still so moist, we see tear-offs in the lights floating down to the track. They use a multi-layer goggle affair and just rip them off for vision. There's our leader. That is Kenny McCarl in the 66 car. And second place just might be gaining on him, indeed.
But he's got almost a full straightaway on the second place car, so he's got to hang on now, because I think you're right, Steve. It looks like Kearney is starting to pull up on him a little bit.
And there we see back in the third spot, that is a 71 car of Dennis Moore Jr. Now, he ought to get some credit here in this C feature. He started dead last and has moved his way into a possible transfer spot to the B.
Unbelievable. Out of Grinnell, Iowa, Dennis Moore Jr. is doing a super job of moving through this field. Remember down there, he started 18th, and he's now sitting in the third spot.
And he's challenging for second.
Sitting down low, that black car, the third one in your picture there, is down on the bottom, and it seemed to be working well for him. I'm sure that he's stuck down there throughout the whole race and has slowly picked his way up through this field.
Well, he races here all year long and knows his favorite way around, and obviously he likes to stay down low.
That's what sprint car veterans call the Bobby Allen groove, because the Hanover, Pennsylvania star works down low and sets his car up to work on the bottom. That's exactly what Moore is doing, showing a lot of patience and a lot of discipline, Steve, as he continues to work on Kearney, but not going up high, just staying nice and low and slowly edging his way up.
Well, I don't think Kearney is paying much attention to him. Maybe he should be, but he is right now full tilt boogie after the leader, 66, Kenny McCarl, who has led from the get-go. Now look at that, he got up on the high stuff, got a nice drive in the cushion, making the high line work. Kearney challenging for the lead, McCarl trying to fight him off, and so far is doing it.
Well, suddenly we got a great race for the lead as the white flag flies. One more lap left.
Look, the ridge runner on the high side. That is Kearney, and he has done it. He has taken the lead on the last lap. McCarl fights back down low. Maybe for an instant retook the lead, but with all the momentum out of 4, it is going to be John Kearney, the 86 car, advancing to the B main. What a race with Kenny McCarl.
Great pass by John Kearney. A superb pass as he moves around a lap car and slingshotted off the second corner to get by McCarl. Great, great race.
And Dennis Moore Jr., who started way at the back, the local favorite, well, he also will take home a transfer spot here tonight and get into the B main.
So those three drivers move on, and excellent work on all three's part. Especially Kearney made that final lap pass to get into the lead. Taylor Weld, the son of Greg Weld, a great sprint car driver and wheel builder, he's in 6th spot. And he, like the rest of these guys, they're loading up and heading home. They're finished for the night. Now let's go down to the winner with Steve.
Well, John, you've extended your night by at least one race.
Well, I don't know. After the way I looked in the heat race, I know I owe it to the guys that worked so hard. And I guess the C feature, you just gotta get out there and try the best you can. I don't know. The cars feels good. A little loose getting off. We're gonna try tighten up, see how far we can get them to be.
And a typically good Knoxville track.
Oh, the track's real good considering the track and the rain. The guys at Knoxville did a tremendous job getting the track ready. You can't say enough for them. As much rain as we've had, the track's in good shape. For as many cars you run on it, you can't ask for a better track.
Okay, Brock Yates.
Quick word, Kenny. Make any changes?
Oh, we tried to tighten it up a little bit. We got a little loose out there. We ran us down in the end a little bit. So we tightened it up a little bit, and we'll see if that helps.
Keep going. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Kenny McCarl never even got out of the car. There's no time. Barely a few moments to clean his helmet off, wipe the perspiration from his brow, put some alcohol in the fuel tank, because already idling around, and they'll tag on the back, is the B main.
We got some good ones here. Johnny Mackinson Jr. and Keith Kaufman in a Weichert car on the front row. Frankie Kerr out of Pennsylvania. Joe Garrity, the son of the great engine builder, in the second row. Aaron Berryhill out of Broken Arrow. We know he runs a first-class operation. Sammy Swindell, as Steve said, struggling with an ill-handling race car back there in row 4. Kevin Doty, excellent young runner. Terry Gray, we know about him, Steve. He's capable of running very well. But believe me, they all have to struggle. There are only 2 guys are going to move into the A feature here.
I'll tell you, you could call this the A feature, and a lot of people at home would believe you. That's how good the quality of this particular race is. Most of the guys up front had a little bad luck, or they wouldn't even be in this B, and they're trying to make up for it now.
That's right. Remember now, the guys at the back here, in particular Kearney McCarr and Dennis Moore Jr., had almost no time to make any changes. Just as Steve said, throw some fuel in, possibly change a right rear, but otherwise no opportunity at all to make any setup changes. So they're really facing some long odds here as the field lines up down the back straightaway here at this beautifully prepared half mile on the Marion County Fairgrounds in Knoxville, Iowa.
Entering turn number 3, headed for turn 4. That's where the starting line is. You can see it there on the dirt. And the flag is out for the B main. Keith Kaufman, Johnny Mackison Jr. out to the early lead.
Good race here as Mackison gives way right away to Kaufman in the white 29, the Weichert car, but comes right back at him down the front straightaway.
For 22 cars to all successfully negotiate the first lap of the B main here at Knoxville, that is a minor miracle. Let's remember, this is open wheel racing. When rubber touches rubber, bad things can happen.
As Keith Kaufman, the veteran out of Pennsylvania, an excellent driver on board, a really fine race car, begins to stretch it out a little bit as he heads hopefully for transfer, and we've got a yellow.
That's right, Doug Clark is pointing down to the turn 3 area, and it is Terry Gray, who started back in the 11th position.
Gray has somehow gotten his 61A car up on that dirt lip that forms kind of a crash wall.
So let's take a look at the current standings for the B feature while we're under yellow. Keith Kaufman, he's up front, followed by Johnny Mackison, Frankie Kerr, Joe Garrity, Aaron Berryhill in 5th, Jeff Shepard, Sammy Swindell, handling problems in 7th, followed by Wright, Doty, and Robertson. Brock?
Interesting, Sammy Swindell has just not been able to move at all with that number 1 S car of his. He's still fighting a handling problem, and I don't think he got it solved between the heat and the B main.
Well, when we talked to Sammy earlier, I didn't get the feeling he was much of an optimist about that car on this night anyway. All right, there, coming into turn 2 on the restart. It's accomplished on the back stretch. 11 laps to go in the B main, and Keith Kaufman picks up where he left off. Kaufman out in front in the 29K car.
Boy, do these things accelerate. With no flywheels in them and over 800 horsepower and about a 1,400-pound race car, they do get off the dime when you step on the throttle, that's for sure.
In fact, some of the crew chiefs, a very few actually, have gone to billet aluminum U-joints to reduce the weight of the U-joint, which means you can get everything spinning even quicker yet.
Acceleration is really serious, and you'll see some of these cars do wheel stands down the front straightaway if they get really heavily hooked up. As Sammy Swindell, you see a little wheel stand there, gets challenged now by Skip Jackson in the red number 12. So look at Swindell battle that automobile. He's all over the racetrack.
And he is in the 8th position, far from a transfer spot. The red car, number 12, that's the Aussie Skip Jackson, who tried to take advantage of Swindell's situation, but he doesn't have the best handling car out there either.
He sure doesn't. As we go back to the lead, that's Johnny Mackison Jr. in the 65. He still sits in 2nd, but he is slowly being challenged by the Ohio driver, Frankie Kerr, in the 23. So the lead tightens up here while Keith Kaufman, of course, has moved out to a really solid lead here in the B main.
You know, when we went from Jackson and Swindell to that shot of the leaders, it was dramatic, the difference in handling.
No question. Yeah, you see these cars. There is suddenly Frankie Kerr has gotten around Mackison, and Mackison gets a little wobbly down there on the inside and manages to hold on to it, but Frankie Kerr has moved around him in pretty solid fashion.
And the 2D car, Jeff Shepard, he has come up to challenge Johnny Mackison for 3rd. Whoa, we just about got one into the fence.
That was Shepard who got it up against the fence, but kept it under control, as these 3 drivers now are beginning to try to get after that car of Keith Kaufman. And Kaufman has just moved out to about a straightaway lead.
All right, Jeff Shepard, he got his handling straightened out and flew right by Johnny Mackison Jr. for that 3rd spot. But third is not enough in tonight's B main. You have got to be second or better to go up to the A.
Those guys will be at the back, but that's where the big bucks are. So Shepard working hard. In fact, he's got Frankie Kerr in mind right now. That's Kerr right up in front of him, sitting in the second spot. Not much chance to run down Keith Kaufman, who leads it, but I'll tell you what, Shepard definitely has his eyes on Frankie Kerr.
Oh, you bet he does. In fact, right. Oh, and Shepard gets it completely sideways, and he saves it. Does not lose a position. Wow, now we know why he was Rookie of the Year back in '87, right, at Williams Grove Speedway. Whoa.
Yeah, there is Keith Kaufman, your leader. He's steering it around here, but Shepard, I don't think I've ever seen anybody, Steve, get it more sideways than Shepard and still save it.
It almost looked like he thought he was on a quarter-mile track and he turned left.
So Shepard, in fact, that was exactly where he got into trouble a couple of laps earlier, but he managed to hold on to it as we watch Keith Kaufman in a Weichert Livestock car just sail around here. There's Shepard sitting now in the third spot as the white flag flies.
No question, this track is becoming just a bit greasy. All the cars are starting to twitch. We can see drivers leaning a little harder on the wings. They're adjustable, have a hydraulic system. They can move them forward, they can tilt them fore and aft, and there's a lot more wing angle now than there was earlier on.
So coming off turn number 4 down to the checkered flag is Keith Kaufman, an easy winner here in the B main. He will advance to the A main and pick up hopefully some big bucks. And believe me, Steve, Kaufman has picked up a lot of major money. As a full-time professional race driver out of central Pennsylvania. Won 8 track championships, for example, at Port Royal, 2 at Williams Grove, 1 at Hagerstown. He is just a consummate professional driver, and he is very, very well situated right now, having won this race and headed toward the big bucks, as I said, in the A main. So there's a good look, by the way, at the suites that are sitting up on top of the wonderful Sprint Car Hall of Fame that's housed outside the turn number 2 here at Marion County Fairgrounds. You got to get a look at that if you're ever in Iowa. The rest of the guys, though, unfortunately, beside Kaufman and Kerr, they're loading up and heading home.
Brock, let's set the field for the A feature as cars are already rolling out.
Some of the finest drivers in the business get ready to roll. Danny Smith and Billy Pouch, the dirt modified driver from the east, on the front row. Kenny Jacobs out of Ohio and Stevie Smith Jr. in the second row. A couple of really fine drivers. Andy Hillenberg and Lance DeWeese, we talked about him, the youngster from Pennsylvania, Steve. Back there, Terry McCarl and Mark Kinser, the 2 top qualifiers here, sitting back there in the 4th row.
Danny Lasowski, the fans really love that guy. Rocky Hodges out of the Indianapolis area. Chris Esch, just a lot of talent. And everybody, with the exception of Keith Kaufman and Frankie Kerr at the back of the pack, have had plenty of time to massage these sprinters, to think about what tire they wanted to use, to get the bar settings, and talk a little strategy between driver and crew chief. Keith Kaufman, Frankie Kerr, they had time to pour in fuel and get a cold drink. That was about it. But everybody else should have things pretty much under control.
That's right. They've certainly had plenty of time to watch these other heats and feature races to make sure that they are going to guess right. But the racetrack will change so radically, Steve, in 20 laps that it's not a question of setting the race car up for the beginning or the end, but you've got to be able to have a race car that works through a variety of conditions as the racetrack changes.
And as Kenny Jacobs told us, it's a little slick in the middle. In fact, you can see in some areas of this big Knoxville half miles right there where the lights are shining off what they call the blue groove. The A feature coming around for a start out of turn 4. Will they get one? You betcha.
Down into turn number 1, it's Danny Smith off the pole and Billy Pouch in the black 1. But look at Kenny Jacobs trying to poke his nose up in there.
Kenny Jacobs in one of the, and we have got trouble. This is the 3H car of Kenny Hansen. He started back in 18th and undoubtedly was caught up in a whole lot of aggressive race car driving. And you can see the front end of that car damaged pretty badly.
Kenny is a part-time race driver. He's a farmer and does a little trucking on the side. So this is a big thrill for him, obviously, to get up amongst the top flight drivers, and it didn't last long for him. A tough break here as they go down to turn number 1 after the green flag flies. There you see Hansen on the far right side of your screen touch the rear of another car and then tricycle it right up against the fence. tearing the front suspension off, and he is no doubt finished for the night.
That is such a typical sprint car crash. In fact, in many ways, Kenny got off lucky. The car is right side up. The wing is still on it, but Kenny, maybe it's my cologne?
He does not want to talk right now. A very disappointed young man as the field reforms. Didn't get a lap in, so we're going to start it all over again. Remember now, Steve, Kenny Jacobs in that yellow 71, he got right up between Pouch and Smith down the back straightaway, and Stevie Smith Jr. was right behind him, so it looks like we're going to have a four-car battle for the lead as soon as Doug Clark, the starter, restarts the whole affair again.
That yellow car of Kenny Jacobs may be the lightest car in the field. One of the reasons it accelerates so quickly. Crew Chief Deuce Terrell told me it's got magnesium and titanium all over it. It won't last very long. It's not very durable, but man, it'll fly while it's here.
Yeah, Deuce said that race car is built strictly for Knoxville as Doug Clark waves the green. And look at Kenny Jacobs. He took the low side, and Stevie Smith Jr. took the high side to go around Pouch and Smith to run 1-2. But we got a yellow.
The yellow is out again. We can't seem to complete the opening lap. Better news here for Lance DeWeese, though. The 461 car, he apparently just lost it or maybe got tapped. No damage to the car, and I believe they're going to get a pickup out there and get that motor restarted where he can join the field. So he has a little better luck than Kenny Hansen did. But still, there are no laps down here in the A feature.
Right. However, though, he started in the 6th spot, this young Pennsylvania driver, and he will advance to the back, unfortunately, because of that little bobble. So they reform. Pouch and Smith and Pouch, I should say. Danny Smith on the pole, Pouch on the outside. Going to try to fend off the charge of Kenny Jacobs and Stevie Smith Jr. one more time, and that didn't work the first time.
Let's remember, Danny Smith told us all that if he had to, he would defend himself. His car could get very, very wide and take up a whole groove. And now he thinks he knows what Kenny Jacobs and Stevie Smith have in mind here on take 3 of the first lap. And that's, of course, Smith going high and Jacobs coming down low.
So I would imagine Danny Smith is going to drop down low to see if he can cut off that pass of Kenny Jacobs as the green flag flies. Here comes Danny Smith and Billy Pouch leading him down into turn number 1.
Kenny Jacobs did not get nearly as good a start, but look at Stevie Smith. He's challenging for the lead.
He got by Pouch, and now he's going to try to get around Danny Smith. Smith stays low, but the young man from Pennsylvania tries him low now. So it appears that Stevie Smith's car, the 77, works both high and low. And here comes Jacobs now.
You know, I think Jacobs just took a little different strategy, that's all. He didn't want that same kind of start. Keep him confused. Stevie Smith in the lead.
Here comes Kenny Jacobs down low, trying to get under Danny Smith, and he'll make that stick. So suddenly it's a 2-car race. Stevie Smith Jr. in the red 77, the yellow 71 of Kenny Jacobs, and Jacobs challenges.
Oh, this is a terrific A feature. Right now it's a virtual match race between Jacobs and Stevie Smith. But traffic is going to be a factor within a few laps. You know you're going to have traffic in 20 laps, maybe not in a 10-lap heat, but that will be a factor, and the driver that handles it the best may be the winner tonight.
Well, Stevie Smith's car right now works all over the racetrack. He's in the middle right now. He's worked high, and we've got a yellow.
It's Lance DeWeese again, and this may put him out of the race.
But right now, we've got 3 laps under our belt, Steve Evans, and Stevie Smith, who made a great start, leads it. Kenny Jacobs more than ready to challenge. Danny Smith, who started on the pole, sits back in 3rd. Mark Kinser already up into 4th place.
You know, but of those up front, I'm not sure anybody can run with Stevie Smith and Kenny Jacobs. Danny Smith has not been able to, even though he started on the pole. Mark Kinser, well, if there's a guy that can, it's Mark, but he needs a very good restart, and it is coming up on the backside.
Well, he said he needed a couple of yellows, and he's already got 1, so he's making his move as Stevie Smith gets on the throttle hard, and Kenny Jacobs stays down low.
They are both comfortable in those grooves. Jacobs likes it low. Stevie likes it high. Stevie keeps the momentum, sweeping out of turn number 2, headed down the back straight to 3. Jacobs now says, maybe not staying low all the time is a real good idea.
That's interesting. Stevie Smith's probably running a couple of 100 yards farther if you look at the entire lap, and yet he's able to stay ahead of Kenny Jacobs.
Now there you saw him get off the cushion very quickly. Rather than riding it all the way through the turn, he just kind of zagged down in front of Jacobs, and that paid big dividends. It's hard to say what gear ratios these guys are running. There's tremendously different setups here, but obviously one likes it high, one likes it low.
Okay, let's take a look at Danny Lasowski, the local favorite here, has moved up right behind Danny Smith in the 12. Lasowski is almost unbeatable here at Knoxville on a weekly basis, Steve. He and Terry McCarl dominate here. But Lasowski is now running down low and gets by Danny Smith.
Absolutely, but Danny Smith comes back on the inside and then decides to just get right back up on the Nerf bar Lasowski. But Lasowski definitely has more power. I don't know about handling, but he's got more power than Danny Smith on this night.
Very confident young man as we watch Stevie Smith Jr. leading Kenny Jacobs. Couple of guys that cut their teeth really on the Pennsylvania circuit, that highly competitive series of racetracks, Williams Grove, Sealands Grove, Port Royal, etc. Both these guys have run there extensively, and of course Stevie Smith, as you said earlier, his dad, a great race driver in that same circuit.
Kenny Jacobs got a little out of shape, the wheels in the air, he lifted for just a second, pedaled the car, and that cost him some time. He didn't lose position, but it definitely cost him a couple of car lengths.
Now Stevie Smith beginning to take real command of this race as Jacobs falls back ever so little, but up ahead lies some traffic, and that is yet another opportunity for Kenny Jacobs to catch up. Mark Kinser sitting in the 3rd spot, but not really able to attack that much on Kenny Jacobs in that yellow 71.
All right, there you see Stevie Smith, the yellow car, staying down low again and trying to use that traffic as a pawn, so to speak, is Kenny Jacobs, but Stevie Smith a little too smart for that, and the traffic being very polite.
And Kenny is trying to use the middle of the racetrack, whereas Stevie Smith's staying up high. He's just kind of sweeping around everybody up on that cushion. Nobody else seems to be running up there, certainly not as fast as Smith, so he's able to put that to good advantage, because Kenny Jacobs has to worm his way through slower traffic down low, and that is not the way to get around here quickly right now.
Well, right now it would appear that the slick part of the track is moving further and further up, and Stevie Smith is having a harder time running as quickly up high as he was. You can see the sheen off of the pavement there. If he could get that big right driving wheel into the soft stuff, he's okay, but if he stays in that shiny part of the blue groove, it's too slick to get any real forward momentum.
Well, he's got a slower car that's sitting up in front of him that he's going to have to get around, and that could slow him up just a little bit as we watch Mark Kinser sail down into turn number 1. Right behind him, Danny Lasowski, not giving an inch, really, holding that about 4, 5, maybe 8 car lengths advantage as Mark Kinser makes his way around this racetrack. And look at Lasowski come, Steve.
Oh, Lasowski takes the 3rd position away from Mark Kinser. What a perfectly executed pass. And now, when he gets that right wheel in the cushion, he is fighting a bucking horse.
Sure is, but look at Lasowski has gained like 20 cars on Mark from 10 back to 10 in front in one single lap. I don't know whether Mark's lost some horsepower or the handling's gone away on that car, but Lasowski seemed to get it by him awfully easily.
All right, the red car is Stevie Smith, the 77 machine. He handled the traffic better than did Kenny Jacobs. Jacobs got a little bit bottled up in that 77 car, and it cost him.
So the young man from Pennsylvania, a lot of people are looking for him to, as I said earlier, to displace Steve Kinser one day as the king of the outlaws. He is really, really good. And he is moving through some slower traffic now, a little tight. Doug Clark, the starter, telling everybody to move over, let the man through, and they do a good job there. No problems as Stevie Smith maneuvers down the back straightaway with Kenny Jacobs right behind.
All right, the first car in your picture, that is Danny Lasowski. You can see how slick the track is getting. He's not so much worried about defending his spot over Mark Kinser. Maybe he should be as Kinser goes down low. He himself is trying to catch Kenny Jacobs.
Well, Danny's steering that thing as hard on the straightaways as he is in the corners. That thing is all over the racetrack, but he's doing a super job on a racetrack, as you say, Steve, that's getting slicker and slicker all the time.
And you know, the word slick is not necessarily a negative when it comes to this kind of racing. You heard Kenny Jacobs in the pre-race interview say it's going to be a little slick in the middle, should be a lot of fun. It means that you can pass a guy, you can make a mistake, you can make up for horsepower with brilliant driving.
You know, well, good drivers in these cars are really not cowed by any particular type of racetrack conditions. They're used to running on very slick tracks, on heavy tracks, on very, very rough and bumpy tracks. But Knoxville right now is almost becoming more like asphalt.
And that's predictable for a night of racing as we've seen here today. A lot of cars have really punished this dirt. And you know, we talked about the management here. Most of these people have a farming background. And here they're not trying to farm corn, they're trying to farm a good show for the fans, and they're famous for it. I mean, these guys really know how much water goes into how much dirt and when to put it in, and that's the key to any dirt racetrack.
Well, Al Hamilton and his crew have got to be delighted the way Stevie Smith Jr. is handling the 77 right now. He is just running flawlessly, having no problems whatsoever. He's moved away pretty well from Kenny Jacobs. And I would think right now Kenny is perfectly content just to hang on to second place, because Danny Lasowski's lurking back there in a relatively challenging position. He's not all that far behind. Here's Danny down the back straight and has moved up pretty well. He's broken away from Mark Kinser. And there you can see Kenny Jacobs, and Lasowski is now starting to take a bite at him.
He wants to put the same kind of a move on Kenny Jacobs that he did on Mark Kinser, and he'd like to do that up there between 1 and coming off at 2. But he's got to get close enough first before he can execute the pass, and there's not many laps left.
Well, there you see Lasowski, the race car, much twitchier, much looser than most everybody else on the racetrack. He's working a lot harder, but then again, he's going a lot faster than a lot of other people.
Indeed he is, and there is the 71M car, Kenny Jacobs. Kenny right now just trying to hold on, because Lasowski is coming, and you can bet that his guys have indicated we got some bad news behind you, Kenny. As we said, that's one of the lightest cars here, if not the lightest. And right now it's strutting its stuff, and it's loose like everybody else. I mean, there's nobody out there in what they'd call a tight race car at the moment. The track doesn't allow for tight. There is Stevie Smith, and he takes the checkered flag in a simply dominating performance here on the Knoxville half mile. So the final standings for the Knoxville shootout shows Stevie Smith taking the victory. Kenny Jacobs comes in second with Danny Lasowski third. Brock?
Mark Kinser a bit disappointed. He finishes in fourth. Andy Hillenberg moves up into fifth. Terry McCarl, I'm sure, a little disappointed with sixth. Danny Smith falls off the pole to seventh. Billy Pouch, he started in the front row. He finishes in ninth. Keith Kaufman from 21st to 10th. Let's go to Steve.
Great drive, Stevie.
Hey, thanks.
You know, often traffic can work against you. Tonight, I think it worked for you.
Them guys just had the car handling real good. And, Bob Kreiner does a good job with the motor, and it makes it a lot better for us. But we got some good breaks in traffic, and it went our way.
And getting some real good bite out of turn 4. It hiked the wheels pretty high on you one time there.
Yeah, I think I was racing a little too hard, trying to make sure I had enough lead with a couple laps to go there.
Again, just a polished performance.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
That's your winner here at Knoxville tonight. This load of cash will go to Pennsylvania. Brock?
Well, Kenny, it looked like you and Stevie got about 8-10 car lengths apart, and he just couldn't seem to close it up anymore.
Yeah, I let him get too far out on me. I got messed up in lap traffic a little bit. I went to the bottom one time when I shouldn't have, and if you get a little bit of a lead here, it's hard to make it back up. And
Yeah.
I let him get out on me, and probably he did a better job than I did, I guess.
Well, it's just the way things break, but it looked like the race cars were just hooked up almost perfect. Everybody's dead even. He just had a few car lengths on you. He couldn't make it up.
Yeah, I feel like our car was just as fast as his. I needed a break to get by him somehow. If I could have got by him, I think I could have won the race because we were about the same speed, and things worked his way. It was his turn to win.
Well, congratulations anyway. Great second on a very difficult racetrack.
Okay, thanks, Brock.
Sure. Kenny Jacobs. Steve?
There was tremendous action in the heat races early on here at Knoxville. In fact, this was Thursday night, heat number 1. Only one car you need to keep your eye on, and it's at the back of this inverted start with a valve in on the wing. That is Steve Kinser, number 11, sweeping high. Had to finish in the top 4 to transfer to the A main. And right about here, things got just a little dicey. Over the left rear wheel of Tim Monson, the 6M car, And Kinser defies the laws of gravity. There's no reason that car didn't get upside down. That brought out the red. Uncle Carl towed it into the pits, made a few adjustments. Car was not seriously damaged, pretty durable machine. And Kinser set sail, again with the same mission, to finish in the top 4. There's the 11 car, trying the inside of the turns, the outside of the straightaways, about the only groove that existed this early in the competition. And in making his passes very carefully, staying at arm's length. I'm sure that frightened. What a horrible way it would have been to start off Knoxville, not being able to finish the first heat. Well, there was Kinser dazzling his fans, as always, with his car control, his skill, and a little bit of comeback courage. Now, at this point, he was already in the top 4. Could have just kind of put it into cruise control, but that's not the way Steve Kinser drives. You know that. There's Kinser on the inside, woo, and he's giving Monson a bit of room there. He's already seen him once tonight, and it was too close for comfort. Jerry Richard Jr. was leading the race at this point in the 3B car, out of your picture. So Kinser continued to move up and continued to figure out the racetrack and put all the data into his computer, the one between his ears. Again, very careful trying to get around that 6M car that laid in front of him in the 3rd spot. Kinser waiting for just the right opportunity, and he likes to pass down in turn 1, get low, as he executed right here. So that pushed Monson back 1 spot, and Kinser continued to sail around this famous half mile before a real good crowd on Thursday evening. So finishing second was more than enough for Steve Kinser to transfer the A main. The checkered went to Jerry Richard Jr. We thought we'd show you that because without it you wouldn't know how close Steve Kinser came to disaster early on here at Knoxville. In heat number 3 Thursday night, a couple of other outlaw veterans had a very close call. Watch the 10 car of Dave Blaney and the 7TW car of Jeff Swindell. Swindell on the inside, trying to pick up a transfer spot. And they touch wheels. Swindell totally sideways. He paid the big price. Blaney went on to continue picking them off. It was the same format. The top 4 would go to the main event. Jamie Moyle, the 5T car, also looking very, very good, as was the 63 car on this night. Ultimately, Blaney won the heat. Fred Raymer was second. Jamie Mayle was third, and Jeff Swindell recovered from his little shunt there with Blaney to pick up the 4th and final transfer spot. All in all, I don't believe we have ever seen better and safer race car driving here at Knoxville. Sure, there were some accidents, and the wall got dinged up here and there, a little wood punched out into the parking lot, but most of the over 150 sprinters that came to Knoxville for 1993 went home in one piece. And a lot of people, of course, thought that that 10 car, Dave Blaney, there you see him continue to pick him off, had a very good chance of upsetting the throne of Steve Kinser. As you'll see later on in the tape, well, Blaney didn't quite get that accomplished, but he put on a heck of a show on Thursday night in heat number 3, coming all the way from the back in this inverted start to take the checkered flag. So Dave Blaney having a great season in '93. Well, one driver was not quite so lucky in heat number 4 on Thursday night. As they come into turn number 2, right about the middle of the pack, that is Marlon Jones, and he gets just a little tap right there in the left rear, but that was enough to upset the car, and Marlon goes for a ride. The wing does a great job of absorbing a lot of the shock. He was uninjured. That's the same guy that went out into the parking lot a couple of years ago. Let's flash forward to the A feature on Thursday night, the main event. This was the opening lap. Field looked good, but watch what happens on the back straight, lap number 1. I guess you could call this a train wreck. This one accident takes out Jock Howden's child, number 22, Bobby McMahon in the 25 car, the 15J car of Ryan Jamison, Kevin Huntley, the 1M car, Bobby Burrow, the 11B car, Jerry Richard Jr., the 3B car. It was one of the nastiest accidents of the whole week here at Knoxville. But what a race we got after the restart. The stars of the show, Dave Blaney in the 10 car, Steve Kinser in the 11 car. But also, as you'll see, Bobby Davis Jr., the 4 machine, Jeff Swindell, 7TW, they were all mixing up pretty good, trying to get in the top 4 money positions in the A main on Thursday night. Kinser gave it everything he had. You see it hiking the left front wheel up, hooked up, coming out of turn number 2. Later in the program, later in the race, Kinser would try the high side coming out of that turn. It was no more productive. This was just a night for Dave Blaney, the 10 car. As we said, Bobby Davis Jr. putting on a good show in the 4 car, Jeff Swindell in the 7TW, and that's the way they would finish the A main. Blaney picked up about $3,700 for his effort. Of course, the big payday was to come Saturday night, some $70,000 on the line. So in the A main on Friday, if you're keeping score, Blaney was first, Kinser was second, Bobby Davis Jr. in the 4 car was third, and Jeff Swindell in the 7TW, and probably more damage from a dollar standpoint in the A-main on Thursday night than any other race of the entire 93 Knoxville Nationals weekend. Saturday night, the B feature for non-qualifiers. Well, this was a restart towards the middle of the race, and take a close look here. You'll see Shane Stewart, the 2S car, and Johnny Herrera, the number 29 car. They come together, and that causes a chain reaction behind them. Unbelievable. Now, in replay, you're going to see a couple of cars come flipping through here, and that will be 91 Larry Webb and the 39 car of Bob Wright. That starts the incident, and it ain't over yet, folks. Everybody trying to avoid it, and nevertheless getting caught up in it. Nobody injured, and as spectacular as it was, well, there was about the worst damage that came out of this shunt. But most of the cars were repairable. After all, sprint cars are pretty durable little beasts. But with their short wheelbases and all the traction offered here at Knoxville, some 700 horsepower, you can get in trouble real easy. Now, this was the A feature for non-qualifiers. This was also on Saturday night. Now, you'll see Jim Carr, the 65 car here, get into some real problems, and it happens before the green flag is out. Actually, the flag was out, but they were yet to cross the start-finish line, and there you see it, the back of the pack, a nasty endo. Now, Carr was admitted to the local hospital, but was pronounced okay. Here again, with the camera angle showing the rear of the pack, you can see just exactly what happens to Jim Carr in that 65 car. The Outlaws put the hammer down long before they come out of turn number 4. And sometimes the guy up the back gets a little greedy and a lot of damage to his race car. As I said, his bell was thoroughly rung. You saw his head take a horrible knock right there, but he was okay. Good news. Now it's time for the event in the world of Outlaws Wing Sprint Car Racing, the Knoxville Nationals. And one man from Indiana stands head and shoulders above the rest. Unseating him from the championship throne forces all comers to hold nothing back, to often throw caution to the wind. Put simply, everyone knows to be the first at the checkered flag at the Nationals means joining a very elite club of true champions. Hello, everyone, and welcome to, for sprint car fans, Heaven on Dirt, the 33rd running of the Knoxville Nationals. I'm Steve Evans, and along with 23,000 other people, we're all asking the same question, even his own fans. Can anyone stop Steve Kinser from winning his 3rd consecutive Knoxville title and the 9th of his career? Let's all remember what happened here 1 year ago. Kinser started on the pole, 30 green flag laps. He not only won, but almost lapped the entire field. Well, guess what? He starts on the pole again tonight. Earlier, I asked some of the other drivers for their thoughts. Kenny, does the dominance of Steve Kinser ever just kind of grate on you a little bit?
Well, it does a little bit during the whole season, not so much here, because here it seems like he's not only the car you got to beat a lot of cars here. So I don't think about it too much here. I know that we weren't right last night. We get a little quicker. We can beat him tonight even from the 4th row. So we just got to work hard, and his dominance, the presence there is all right. I mean, you're right.
Can Steve Kinser be beat from the pole at Knoxville?
Absolutely. He can be beat anytime, but it's a lot tougher when he's on the pole. He's on a good roll here. He usually is at Knoxville, and with him on the pole, it's going to be real tough. It's going to take a couple cautions and him to get stuck in lap traffic a couple times, but yeah, it can be done.
Will Kinser have to beat himself tonight to lose the Knoxville Nationals, or can somebody outrun him from the middle of the pack?
I think if a lap car or Steve don't blow up, he'll win.
Now, there was one driver in particular given a good chance of beating Kinser here at Knoxville based on a performance a week ago in Ohio. But his task is going to be a bit tougher than we all thought because of problems earlier in the week. Here's Brock Yates.
Well, Steve, as if this electric yellow number 22 sprint car wasn't bright enough, it is going to have the eyes of virtually everybody on it tonight because this is Jack Haudenschild's car. Now, he came in here as a major favorite. He just had won the Kings Royal, a $100,000 race back in Ohio, was running very, very strong, had, by way of a little bit of history, remember last year had done very, very well and then worked his way up through a series of main events to finally get into the feature and then blew up on the last lap after putting on a great show. Well, a similar thing happened this year because he was in one of the earlier events here, had an engine failure, then had to work his way through a series of one more B consolations and up into the A main. Now finally he's got to work his way one more time into the A main. So it's going to be an interesting evening, and everybody guaranteed will be watching 22. Well, Steve, I'm with the man of the hour, the guy that everybody's talking about based on that performance a couple of nights ago, Jack, but I'm sure you would rather not have had to go through that.
Yeah, we had a little bad luck. We broke a motor leading the heat race yesterday, so it kind of put us starting in the tail of everything. But the car was working real good, and we were lucky enough to get through all the races the other night. So it puts us front row of the B now.
Okay, so you got the B main facing you now, but two guys advance to the A, and that's still going to put you sort of at the back. It won't put you all the way at the back of the A main probably, but still you're going to have to work your way up.
Yeah, right. That's going to put us pretty far back, and so we're hoping to have the car real nice for the if we make it to the A main and just hopefully get up through there and stay out of trouble.
Okay, Steve, Jack Haudenscheid, all our eyes are going to be on him tonight.
Oh, you can bet on that. We're going to start the evening, though, with the E feature. Don't look for any household names in here. To paraphrase a Brock Yates line, this is kind of the lounge act of the Knoxville Nationals, but still fun to watch.
Well, Steve, it's 10 laps, and 4 of them will move up into the D feature. Now, remember, we've seen in years past, some guys kind of slide through it. Doug Wolfgang did it a couple of years ago in an epic struggle to get into the A main. But it's almost impossible, really, to advance a whole lot farther because each race that you move ahead into, you start at the back of the pack. So if the odds become almost insurmountable after a race or two.
Well, most of the racers here, like Lisa French, they're in the 8th row. They're very proud of being in the E main. This may be the pinnacle of their sprint car career so far. That'll go right down on their resume.
Well, let's not forget that when this event started about 4 days ago, 180 sprint cars and sprint car drivers showed up here, and only a few of them are left. So as you said, Steve, this is a fairly exclusive little group here. 19 cars, 2 on the pole here, young guys, Chad Mellenbrand and Bob Ewell, leading the way here as we get the green. Here they come. Remember now, 4 will advance to the D feature.
And Chad Mellenberg in that 97 M car, the yellow machine, he wants to be one of them. Boy, he has got the bit in that horse's mouth. Right behind him, number 9, Bobby Ewell, and 71X, Manny Rockhold.
Okay, the field sorts itself out well. Sometimes we see some big tangles on the opening laps of these races because so many guys trying to charge to the front, they have a shot in an advance to the next feature. That's 21K, that's Lou Kennedy and Kevin Pilot. That's a battle for the 4th spot here as the field sweeps down the front straightaway.
And Kevin Pilot, he is mounting a charge on the inside here. Look how wet this track is, anticipating a lot of punishment tonight. But he makes it work, finds enough traction to get around Lou Kennedy Jr. for that 4th and bubble spot as far as transferring.
That's the key one. That white number 3 of Kevin Pilot right now moving away a little bit from Lou Kennedy. So Pilot doing a good job out here.
Take a look at this racetrack right now. File it away in your memory bank and bring it back about the time of the A main because it won't even look like the same place. Back up front, the 97M car, Chad Mellenburn. He's been there since the drop of the green flag by starter Doug Clark. And if he can hang on here, he's going to make a few bucks and even some more in the D feature.
Young man out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the home of the great man, the Wolf, Doug Wolfgang. Mellenburn makes his living as a lumberman, so he's only a part-time racer like a lot of these guys. Although he was a Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago at Hooset Speedway up in South Dakota, but only been in sprint cars for about 3 seasons. So you expect a lot of these young men will work their way up, Steve, but this is a big thrill for him to run on the big half mile at Knoxville, and especially for a guy like Chad who's leading the race.
And Chad is helping those that'll come later. build this racetrack. Literally, you can see the groove getting wider and wider. He is now on the last lap. Chad Mellenberg, and back in that fourth and final transfer spot is still the 3P car of 7 Pilot. Looks like he will be the last to transfer. There's a pretty good distance between all of the top 4.
Okay, here comes the checkered as Chad Mellenberg wins it. Bob Ewell will finish in the second spot. Manny Rockhold in the 71X in third, and Kevin Pilot in the final transfer position in fourth spot.
All in all, a tip of the hat to the runners here in the E feature for all staying right side up on what is pretty much a virgin racetrack. Excellent job, gentlemen.
They're part of the giant crowd here, just jamming the 2 grandstands that almost surround this racetrack as Mellenberg, Ewell, Rockhold, and Pilot will move on to the D feature. They'll only have a couple of minutes to throw some alcohol into the fuel tanks, possibly change tires, make maybe a few quick suspension settings, and then form up at the rear of the field. In fact, some of the D feature cars are already fired up, the push cars moving around the racetrack as they go out and warm up. Now let's go to Steve with the winner.
That was a sweetheart of a little drive there, Chad. You look good.
We've been struggling a little bit, but we're getting experience down here, and it's getting better, so.
You'll liable to have some drivers coming over asking you how's the track, because you're the first to try it.
Yeah, it's still pretty greasy yet. There's, in the middle it's not so bad, but you get down too low and it's greasy. You can't really run the cushion a whole lot yet. It'll come in, a little bit later.
Good luck in the D feature.
Okay, thank you.
So, as Chad Mellenberg heads out for the D feature, let's take a look at the starters. Peter Murphy on the pole, Fran Bruins beside him, Brad Haywood, Joe McCarthy. Again, a lot of soon-to-be famous sprint car drivers. If you can get to the D main here, you may have a career on your hands.
Well, young Peter Murphy, of course, is one of several Australians that's come over here, and he's run well. Remember Marlon Jones 3 or 4 years ago had that horrible crash, went right out of the park at the end of turn number 1 and walked away from what we thought was going to be a really serious injury. So Marlon Jones back. In fact, I think he came back a few nights later with the same car.
He did indeed.
Oh, we got a bunch of guys out here trying to move up into the C feature. Only 3 will make that exclusive cut. The rest of the guys, well, they'll load up and head home because their night is finished.
One thing we can already tell is that the D feature is going to have more of a racetrack to work with than the E did. Just the pneumatic compaction of not only the race car tires, but the push trucks as they got them started has helped to kind of soothe out this surface. It's binding itself, and it's going to come to the race drivers that dare attack it. All right, we should get a start coming out of turn number 4. That's out of 2. There is the Sprint Car Museum and Hall of Fame Brock was talking about right there in turn 2 with the suites on the front end. Will this be as clean and green as the E? Let's hope so for everybody's sake that owns one of those sprint cars. There you see the white line. They're already on the gas. And it's number 18, Fran Bruins, and 1J Peter Murphy. Those are the 2 cars side by side as they swoop out of turn 1 and now out of turn 2 onto the back stretch.
So, Fran Bruins and Peter Murphy, the young man from way down in New South Wales, Australia, going at it. And once again, Steve, the field made a really clean start. Nobody got crazy, nobody got over-eager. But here comes Fran Bruins off turn number 2. He got a little wild there. He's out of Madison, South Dakota, Steve. He's been in here a bunch of times. In fact, this is his 5th Nationals. But Peter Murphy, a bit of a rookie here. So Bruins showing some real skill and some experience as he breaks away from the field.
Interestingly enough, we've got Australians running 2nd and 3rd. 1J, the orange car, Peter Murphy. Behind him, 2AU, Brad Haywood. Haywood, a former motorcycle star, only been at this about 5 years. Let's remember, it is wintertime down in Australia right now, and not only do they come up here, we go down there. A number of the top names. And Brock, you can't tell any difference of wing sprint car racing in Australia. I've seen it looks just like this.
Absolutely. Well, Tommy Sanders, a gambler, tells me that guys like Haywood buy all their bits and pieces up north. A lot of engine stuff comes down there. A lot of the chassis parts, like gamblers, go down there. And the guys, as you say, race on basically the same kind of racetracks, the same competition level. And I'll tell you what, the same skill level in a lot of cases.
And the same holds true of New Zealand, except in New Zealand they race some really tight little bull rings. In fact, one is just about downtown Auckland and draws tremendous crowds. So sprint car racing more and more becoming an international sport.
Well, as a matter of fact, the guy that kind of led the charge up here was Max Dummonsey, and he is already qualified for the A-Main. In fact, he's going to start up, I think, in the 8th spot.
All right, the leaders right now are passing a lapper. That is 96, Tom Whiting. And still out in the lead is Fran Bruins, the 1-8 car, and Peter Murphy in that orange 1J. Well, we got some problems. Yep, right there in turn 4. That is Shane Stewart in the 2S car. And pretty obvious from the condition of the wing that he got that thing completely upside down.
While the wreckage is being removed from the track, let's take a look at the field as it stands under caution for the D feature. Now remember, only 3 of these drivers will advance to the C. If they don't, well, they're done for the night. And right now, that is Fran Burns, Peter Murphy, and Brad Haywood. They are the only 3 drivers right now that have a shot at the C.
That's right. As the starter Doug Clark waves them off and said, come on, guys, let's get up to speed here. We're going to single file this start as they will get underway here on the back straightaway. And look at that pass by Peter Murphy. That's a legitimate start because outlaw restarts happen on the back straight. Doug Clark says it's clean and green. And Peter Murphy, the Australian, just blew by, caught Fran Bruins off a guard there for a moment, and that was enough for him to jump out to a giant lead here.
Well, not only that, to add insult to injury, the other Aussie, Brad Haywood, in the 2AU car, he also blasted it by the 18 car of Fran Bruins. So the Aussies right now are dominating the D feature.
One would think with 5 Knoxville Nationals under his belt that Fran would have been a little more ready for that, but perhaps the engine bogged just for a moment. It only takes a microsecond of hesitation here, either by the driver or the engine, to lose a position here.
Well, I think there's something wrong with Fran's car. He is rocketing to the back of the field. The 02 car, Joe McCarthy, has already passed him. So Brad Haywood and McCarthy are having a pretty good little punch out right here. Daddy Rockhold, the 71 car, is a lapper.
Yeah, so we've got Australians running 1 and 2, and as you said, Steve, now no question Fran Bruns has got problems with that race car because he just cannot stay up anymore. That's a tough break because he had a good shot at transferring, but right now his hopes are rapidly diminishing.
I'd say I think these Aussies probably race each other harder than they would any of the Yanks here at Knoxville. That's for national pride there.
Well, so far the only Yank that has any chance at passing them is Joe McCarthy back there in 3rd place in the 02 car. But the 2 Australians now take the white flag. 1 lap, half a mile left here for these 2 guys to advance into the C feature.
And I'm sure right now both of them are trying to pretend that this is the finish of the A-Main, not the D, as Peter Murphy and Brad Haywood from down under dominate the D beach. And Joe McCarthy, he did hang on for 3rd position, and he will transfer to the back of the C main. All right, so there is our winner, 1J, Peter Murphy, showing off a little bit on his victory lap, looking good. And so is this racetrack, as the line gets higher on the top side and lower on the low side, soon to get slick in the middle. And that's pretty normal for Knoxville Raceway. There you see Murphy, Haywood, McCarthy, Herbert Jr., and Marlon Jones. This time his car completely intact, and he finishes 5th in the D feature, followed by McCarl, Edmondson, Droud Jr., Ricky Logan, and Joe Rowe round out the top 10. And with the weather starting to threaten, they're wasting no time here at Knoxville. The C feature already strapped up and out on the racetrack, just waiting for the 3 transfers from the D. Right now, let's go to Brock with the winner of that D feature.
Well, I'm with Peter Murphy. You got a good restart, and the hunt continues now, onward and upward.
Yeah, we come an awful long way just to try and get into as far as we can get. So we didn't think we'd get much further than where we were, but we won that one there. So we get the transfer on a bit further on, and that just makes us real happy.
Oh, that's great. Race car was looked and sounded like it was hooked up pretty good again. Make any changes?
Yeah, it's probably just going to take a little bit of stagger away because it's just a little bit loose coming off the turn. So just try and tighten up just a little bit.
Otherwise, go get him. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, stagger is the difference between the size of the wheels on the left side and the right side of the automobile. If he's going to take some stagger out, that'll flatten the car out a little bit, and it won't push quite as bad. Is that correct, Brock?
Well, one hopes. Being a chassis expert like you, I can't argue. But I will argue with the fact that it's going to be very tough to get around Sammy Swindell, who starts outside front row. Beside him is Aaron Berryhill, last year's Rookie of the Year in the World of Outlaws. And we got some fine runners deeper in the field. Tommy Estes Jr., a fine competitor. Kevin Doty. Johnny Herrera is not having a very good Knoxville. Is an excellent runner out of New Mexico, but he is going to start deep in the field. Kevin Fry, we saw him. He runs well here, but he's got his work cut out for him, as does Randy Smith.
Well, there's very few names in this field that you haven't seen before here on American Sports Cavalcade in our Winged Outlaw coverage over the years. So get ready for some serious action. 12 laps, 3 go to the B feature. I agree with Brock. Swindell's going to be tough, even though this is only his second race back in the world of sprinters, having seen his Busch Grand National Stock Car program go awry. Sammy plans to run the rest of the year. This is a car he's fairly familiar with. He ran it a short time before he moved into stock cars and is now driving it for the guy he sold it to.
And we'll see how he does as they come down to take the green. Sammy Swindell and Aaron Berryhill charge away. And already Swindell has snatched the lead.
Now, Sammy ran here in a preliminary race last night and had a horrible time with this coilover car. And now it looks like the Sammy of old. I mean, he was all over this racetrack from guardrail to guardrail. They apparently learned something last night.
No question, the race car looks a whole lot better as he just says goodbye to Aaron Berryhill back there in the second spot. Remember now, 3 cars will transfer to the B feature. So Sammy working hard, wants very badly to repeat here as a winner in the Knoxville Nationals, but right now the odds are really deeply stacked against him.
That's right, he'll settle for whatever he can get at this point when you're running the C main. All right, here is the battle for that third transfer spot. That is number 25, Bobby McMahon, and 21B, Gary Brazier. Brazier wants that third spot away from McMahon, and is going low to try to get it. Didn't work.
Scrubbed off a little speed as he came off turn 2, and that gave McMahon a little bit of an edge. But right now, Berryhill concentrating on trying to move in on Sammy Swindell, who leads it decisively. There's 25. That is McMahon. Right behind him, the 21B of Gary Brazier.
Gary Brazier is yet another Australian. Every year we come to Knoxville, there's more and more of them, and they're very welcome here. This is a great fraternity. Everybody gets along well. They loan stuff to them. When they go to Australia, the favors are repaid and then some.
And a lot of our guys go down there. Danny Smith in particular, Steve Kinser's been down there. A lot of the drivers go down. A lot of midget drivers go down there as well. Sleepy Trip and some of the great USAC midget drivers spend their winters in Australia.
Look at this. Sammy Swindell and Aaron Berryhill, the 1S and 97 cars, were going at it pretty good there. Berryhill got right up and took a peek. Then I think he saw the lap. Oh, and he uses the lap traffic. Aaron Berryhill, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Swindell never saw him coming.
That lap car was Peter Murphy, the guy that just won the last race. He obviously has got some problems because he is not running anywhere near as well as he was. And look at this. Sammy Swindell would not have it from the young upstart from Oklahoma. Aaron Berryhill gives way, and Sammy Swindell just muscles his way back into the lead.
Well, I think Swindell, typical Swindell, running out there, managing his equipment, his power, learning the racetrack. He knows how tough it's going to be if he can't advance to the next race. So he was out there just running as hard as he needed to, and he never saw him coming. That was Bobby McMahon, who is currently running fairly safely in the 25 car in the third and final transfer spot.
But everybody will remember that great pass that Aaron Berryhill did on Sammy Swindell. Didn't last long, but it was a nice moment in this race as McMahon continues to hold on to that third transfer position.
Ooh, but look at this. Here comes Gary Brazier, the 21B car. No longer does McMahon have a stranglehold. In fact, McMahon has lost that third position. He challenges back on Gary, but Gary says no. Good stuff.
Sure is. Gary Brazier out of Sydney, Australia, showing good form here as he just charged past McMahon to take that spot. And we got a car stalled in the yellow.
That will allow the field to bunch up as Jerry Riker Jr. is stopped on the racetrack. There doesn't appear to be any damage, so it may be engine. All right, Sammy Swindell leading the C feature over Aaron Berryhill. If you just tuned in, don't count out Berryhill. He put a blindside pass on Swindell just a few laps back. Sammy retaliated. All right, they will restart on the back stretch, and Sammy Swindell, Brock, is notorious for jumping the start.
Well, he's got a little bit of a cushion now because there's a lap car, Johnny Herrera, between him and Berryhill, but that doesn't prevent Sammy from burying the throttle as the green drops, and here he comes.
Sammy Swindell doesn't favor high or low. It just depends on where the racetrack is good. Some guys, they hug the pole, others ride the rim. Swindell goes where it's quick.
And where it's fast, because this man is as good as anybody behind the wheel of a sprint car. Only one lap left as Doug Clark shows the white to Sammy Swindell.
And right now it looks like the 21B car of Gary Brazier, he will be the only Aussie driver to advance out of this feature into the B. That is the 21 car. He's hanging on there and he looks pretty safe to finish third. Yes, he will.
Check her out for Sammy Swindell as it comes out for Aaron Berryhill and Gary Brazier, the only guys who will stick around for more racing tonight.
Well, Sammy in many ways is glad to be back among his old pals here on the Dirt Wars, but in some ways it's not great news for him, Brock. He doesn't feel like beating his brains out 150 nights a year.
That's right, and the Grand National foray that just wound down here was not a particularly successful one for him, even although he shows great talents as a race driver in all styles of cars, Indy cars, stock cars, you name it. But right now, his attention is focused on winning here at Knoxville.
And Brock Swindell would like nothing better than to end this evening with the big prize. Let's set the field for the B feature as they roll out.
Jack Houdenchild, we talked about him. Freddie Raymer, one of the Pennsylvania posse, an excellent driver. Shane Carson, both a driver and a promoter. Joey Allen, Bobby's younger brother, he's good. Rocky Hodges, you name it. The field's full of good drivers, Steve.
How about Donnie Kreitz Jr., Sinking Springs, Pennsylvania? We have seen him win here in American Sports Cavalcade. Jimmy Seals, former track record holder here out of California. Johnny Mackison Jr., Chris Esch. There just are no dogs in this field. In fact, this is a B main. Any promoter in the country would pay dearly to have as his A main. And you know, we mentioned earlier that Jack Houdenchild on the pole here won $100,000 last weekend. Well, he did at Eldora Speedway, only that race was called, modestly, the historical Big One. Earl Ball has put up $100,000 to win, and it was quite a show, with Steve Kinser surviving a horrible crash. We'll talk more about that a little later. There you saw Sammy Swindell in row 10. Aaron Berryhill in row 11. Gary Brazier, the sole surviving Aussie here in the B main. This could be a good one, Brock, and it's a long race, 22 laps.
Yeah, Sammy's going to need a couple of yellows, and I'm sure that Jack Houdenchild is going to hope for green all the way because he wants to be able to move into that A main. He's got a tough weekend. They've stuck a new shaver motor in that thing that fired up just before the guys rolled out onto the pit lane, Steve, and it sounds really fierce.
Oh, I was listening to it, Brock, and so was everybody else in the pit. All right, it is Jack Houdenchild, known as one of the bravest drivers ever, and he is on the hammer. Fred Raymer letting him get away. You can't do that, Fred.
Freddie Raymer still sitting in second place, but that big, strong motor that Jack Houdenchild's got, plus a really fine handling race car, holds on to his lead. But look at this, Raymer's coming back at him. Raymer's showing some real muscle. Freddie Raymer's a good driver, by the way.
Oh, he's showing that right now. You're running with Houdenchild, the role he's been on. And back in the pack a little bit, there is Sammy Swindell. He is trying to move up. He's making some ground, but struggling. He started way at the back, next to the last row in the black 1S car.
Well, you know, Steve, they got 22 laps here, but there are also a bunch of cars, 22 cars. So if it was a smaller field, it would help Sammy somewhat, but he's working his way through a bunch of really quick automobiles.
Back to the leaders. There's the 22 car. Houdenchild now starting to assert himself over Fred Raymer. Houdenchild has so much power, the car is handling so well, that Brock, I'm not saying he's not trying, he's just not trying his hardest yet.
Well, I'll guarantee you that guys like Steve Kinser and Blaney and some of the guys that are going to run against Houdenchild in the A main, if in fact he gets there, they're watching this young man really closely, because Houdenchild came here with an enormous reputation, with a beautiful new car, a great crew, and a lot of people felt he was going to be automatically in the A main until he had that engine blow up during a heat race. So a lot of people think that Jack Houdenchild can win this thing, but first he's got to get to the A main.
That's right, and that will not be a matter of course. Just ask Fred Raymer or anybody running back there in the top 3 or 4. But right now, Houdenchild has a big hammer. And I'll tell you, nobody is happier about it than the Pennzoil people that backed this car. They're having a great season with Eddie Hill and Top Fuel Drag Racing, and now Howden's-Child. Their money wisely spent in motorsports in several different arenas.
And the yellow comes out as Pete Butler stuffs it up against the wall in turn 1. There's no apparent damage, but the car will have to be removed.
Can anybody beat Jack Howden's-Child? The fans here don't seem to think so, especially the ones that were here earlier in the week and saw an incredible display of driving. Joey Allen running in the 6th spot. He's got to move up 2 more if he's going to transfer. Donnie Kreitz Jr., he also a threat to transfer, as is Chris Esch. Okay, here we go. It'll happen on the back stretch. Starter Doug Clark will keep a close eye. If they jump it too badly, he might yellow flag the thing. There they go, Howden's-Child off and away.
Right behind him, Freddie Raymer, the Pennsylvania shoe, just sitting there ready to challenge if there's any kind of a bobble on the part of the leader.
What about Sammy Swindell? Is he moving up at all? Yeah, a bit. 1S, Sammy Swindell, the black car, but not yet nearly enough to transfer. He's in the 10th spot right now and trying to get around Chris Esch for 9th, and he does it. Swindell on the move.
Well, Chris Esch, though, has given up a bit as Swindell works his way through traffic. He's got a long way to go to get up into that number 4 spot. That is the magic transfer position. Remember to get into the AMA.
But I tell you, that car is handling. You saw the front wheels jerk up a little bit there. He didn't have to lift. They settle back down. But more cars seem to do that coming out of 4 onto the front straight than anywhere else. And now he is challenging Joey Allen for the 8th spot.
Joey Allen down low using the same basic line his brother does, the Bobby Allen low groove. Doesn't work for him, though, because here comes Sammy continuing his charge toward the front. He's got got 4 more spots to go, though, Steve, before he makes the cut.
Swindell has such tremendous car control. He puts the machine where he wants it, as opposed to where it may want to go.
So Sammy Swindell got himself a little bit of running room right now as the leader, Jack Howden's-Child, comes down and moves underneath Doug Clark's flags, his passing flags. Right behind him, Freddie Raymer continues to challenge. Raymer has won 18 features so far in this Pennsylvania circuit, shows up to run occasional World of Outlaws shows, but he is largely an occupant of that very competitive central Pennsylvania sprint car circuit and is having himself a very, very good season.
But one reason the Pennsylvania regulars are so tough when they're running the Outlaws, the rules are identical. They don't have to make any changes to the car. Woo, and look at that. Right up alongside him.
Raymer got almost underneath Howden's-Child. Look at this, they switch spots now. Now Freddie goes high, and they both bobble coming off turn number 2. It looks like a pothole may be developing up there near the fence, and they both got in it. Here comes Raymer again. In fact, taking advantage of traffic, and he almost, in fact, he had the lead. If the checker had fallen, I think he would have won the race, Steve.
And I think that woke up Howden's-Child. He is now back on a tear, harder on the gas than ever before. He may have been a little bit complacent there. You're right. Had this been a shorter race, he might have been second.
And Freddie Raymer got stuck in traffic, and Howden's-Child got by him. Freddie Raymer went down low, got blocked for a bit, and that was enough to let Howden's-Child back through for the lead.
Jack Howden's-Child now handling traffic just brilliantly. I think he was just, as I said, complacent, just kind of a little nodded off there for a minute, and it just about bit him, but not now. He is wide awake, standing up in the seat, as they say.
Well, Freddie Raymer got balked really badly, and that was just enough for Howden's-Child to retake the lead, and now has himself a very big lead with a lot of traffic between him and the second place man, Freddie Raymer.
And here is Sammy Swindell. He is now 5th. Only 1 spot away from a transfer to the Knoxville Nationals A main. But the 1K car of Craig Delansky, well, he may just be too far ahead of Sammy to catch. That's the red car, and it's a long ways away with about a lap and a half to go.
Sammy needs a yellow. Definitely needs a yellow to close up on Delansky and to get that spot. Here is your leader. Now he's charging. You know, an advantage to Howden's-Child, Steve, is that he will know the racetrack. This racetrack is going to be exactly like it's going to be for the A main. He will be able to make the adjustment between the races that some of the guys that are just running the A main won't be able to do.
Yeah, but his big disadvantage in the A main, and it looks like he's going to get there, will be his starting position, which will be very near, if not at the back.
You're right. The checkered comes out for Jack Houdenchild. Freddie Raymer will take second. Rocky Hodges into the third spot. He will transfer. And let's see now. Sammy Swindell does not do it. Craig Delansky will take that fourth transfer spot. So Sammy misses by 1.
But for the fans here in Knoxville, and there's a lot of Swindell fans, a lot of Houdenchild fans too, and growing every year with the kind of performances we're seeing from him. Swindell put on a tremendous show, starting at the back, working his way through very tough customers, and darn near making the A main.
So Houdenchild is your B feature winner. Raymer, Hodges, and Delansky all will transfer. Swindell will not. Neither will Allen, Monson, Kreitz Jr., Garrity, or Ish. Now it's time for the A feature here in Knoxville that pays $70,000 to win.
Being saluted by the crowd and the emergency personnel are all 24 cars lined up in the traditional 4 abreast salute to the crowd. Flash bulbs popping everywhere. Well over about 24,000 people on hand. As we said, it'll pay about $70,000 to the winner. Now, a year ago, Brock, when you and I were here, a little plane came over pulling a banner, and it said Kinser, anybody but Kinser. All it did was make him mad. He went out and almost lapped the field. Just a short time ago, the same plane pulling a banner. This time it said, Steve, go fast, turn right. I asked Jack Houdenchild, who does that? He said, believe me, it ain't us. He's tough enough without making him mad. Now they'll form up 2 abreast, and number 11 will be on the pole, with his younger cousin, Mark Kinser, alongside him.
Here's a row. Jeff Swindell and Terry McCarl. Jeff, excellent runner here. Kenny Jacobson, the Australian Max Dumansey in row number 4. Bobby Davis Jr. and Andy Hillenberg. Lee Brewer Jr. in a brand new car out of California, going with a former winner here, Bobby Allen.
Danny Lasowski, who said, this is a doable deal. I don't know if that was him trying to psych himself up or if he really believes it. And he's alongside modified star Billy Pouch.
Keith Kaufman, Lance DeWeese, a couple of good runners from Pennsylvania, Danny Smith and Jamie Moyle. Frankie Kerr, the Ohio driver, he is a good one. And there in row 11 is the man of the hour, Jack Houdenchild, who's starting right beside Freddie Raymer, who gave him a good run in that last main. Rocky Hodges, can't count him out.
The green flag is out for the 33rd annual Knoxville Nationals. As expected, Steve Kinser off the pole, takes it up high. He said there's nothing down low. Also as expected, his cousin Mark hanging tough right behind him. And now going to the inside is Mark.
Mark down low, trying him low. In third place, that's Dave Blaney. He is running well and expected to show well here tonight. So we've got a wild field and a good start. And look at this. Steve Kinser has opened up on his cousin. Has opened way up. Steve Kinser, remember, Steve, the statisticians will tell you that he's won 8 of them, but they've come in blocks of 3. He won 3, then lost some, won 3 more and lost some, and now he's run 2 in a row. People say he's headed for a 3rd one.
And he certainly was not intimidated by a very bad 1-car crash last weekend trying to race with that 100 grand at Eldora, a rare Steve Kinser miscue that saw him tumble down a racetrack. And there is the 22-car Jack Houdenchild. He is making some progress from his 21st starting position, but he needs to pick him off faster than he is right now.
Well, he's in the middle of a really strong field. That's Lance DeWeese, the young Pennsylvania driver that he just goes around there, but he's got a long way to go, as you say. Here is Stevie Smith Jr., who has gotten around Dave Blaney. That moves him into 3rd place. So Stevie Smith is on a roll here.
He was most impressive last evening, winning a 20-lap feature preliminary race, and now he not only passed Blaney, he just streaks away from him and sets his sights on the 5M car of Mark Kinser for 2nd spot.
All right, young Stevie Smith Jr. moving in on Mark Kinser. It's a clear racetrack for everybody as the leader, Steve Kinser, starts to move through traffic. Stevie Smith down low. There is Steve Kinser in the number 11 car. He is broken free of the pack now and is almost a half a straightaway ahead of Mark Kinser and Stevie Smith.
And we have got a little bit of rain falling here. They are not stopping the race yet. Maybe you can even see the rain in your picture, and you can certainly tell by watching the 11 car He is all over the racetrack trying to plant a wheel up in that dirt that may be a little drier on the high side where he likes to run anyway. But there is a bit of rain coming down. It's a hot racetrack, and so far it's handling it, but for how long?
Look at that. Broad sliding off turn 2, down up against the fence. The leader, Steve Kinser, definitely is slowing down. The whole racetrack is beginning to get just a little greasy. And now it's apparent that everybody is having trouble maintaining control. Here is Stevie Smith up on the leader. Suddenly, Stevie Smith has appeared almost behind Steve Kinser. Got by Mark Kinser, no problem. And look at that. Steve Kinser almost lost it.
And Stevie Smith gets under him for the lead. Kinser will battle back. The rain has changed the entire complexion of the Knoxville Nationals. It appears that Smith's car likes it and Kinser's doesn't.
Oh, no question. Stevie Smith is handling very well in this just very light drizzle. Not enough to soak the racetrack down, but it definitely makes it greasy.
And here comes Kinser back on Stevie Smith. Retakes the lead. Smith handling the lap traffic very, very well. Pulls up alongside of Kinser. The best Knoxville Nationals racing in years.
And now Stevie Smith gets underneath Kinser again. So Stevie Smith takes it, and Kinser comes back at him. They're in lap traffic. But Kinser has fallen back now, and Stevie Smith used the traffic well as the racetrack continues to get more and more damp.
Kinser's car was set up for one kind of surface, and now it's totally different, 180 degrees different. Apparently the Smith car was a little tight, and it likes this loose on the rainy surface.
So Stevie Smith has gotten himself, trouble on the front straightaway.
Oh yeah, that is Terry McCarl, number 27. Local guy, owns his own car, one of the top runners here on a Saturday night basis at Knoxville, and he has some serious front end damage to that car.
I'll see if I can get a word with an obviously upset Terry McCarl.
Terry McCarl is very, very upset. In fact, he's right now arguing to our left with one of the Raceway officials. Terry, obviously you felt the rain was a big factor in that.
I know it was.
This race means more to you than any you've ever run.
Yeah, it does. Look at that. I can't believe they let that go. It's just totally ridiculous. There's lots of things I'd like to say, but I'm not going to. That is totally uncalled for what just happened. I mean, we're out of control out there. Look at my damn car. This is ridiculous.
The man is as much a gentleman as is a young race car driver. Well put.
So he will return, but not tonight, Steve, as it was spitting rain pretty hard when you talked to him, but then all of a sudden the shower cleared. It only lasted just a few minutes with an odd thing that we thought for a while there we were going to be into a red flag condition for quite a while.
I think there was only one driver out there that didn't want that race stopped, and that was Stevie Smith.
Yeah.
The only car that could get around it.
Yeah, everybody, it was an all skate there for a while, and it was lucky that we only lost one car. As the restart begins, and the green flag is out as Stevie Smith leads him down into turn number 3.
And Steve Kinser wants that lead back, looking for his 9th Knoxville title, his 3rd in a row. Kinser said he didn't want to run down low. Well, he has to, because his own cousin is up high and he can't get there.
Mark Kinser came out of nowhere. Mark challenges on the outside, so Stevie Kinser falls back to 3rd as Stevie Smith and Mark Kinser hold on to the 1-2 spot.
All right, let's see where Steve Kinser takes that car now. Coming out of turn number 1. Yeah, right back up high, where he likes to run.
Right now it's a 3-car race. Stevie Smith, Mark Kinser, and Steve Kinser, and Steve down low. Going to be interesting to watch what the master does, because right now he's sitting back in 3rd place. Well, almost 3rd place. He's nose to nose with his cousin right now.
And the fans from Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, they are going mad here at Knoxville. There may be nothing left of this place if Stevie Smith can beat Steve Kinser for the Nationals title.
Well, he's by Mark, so he's up into 2nd, but Stevie's got himself about an 8-car length lead on the defending champion, so it's going to be interesting to see if he can hold on to it, because Steve Kinser now, he has definitely got the bit in his teeth. He wants this 9th title without any question. But Stevie Smith right now is out to deny him that privilege.
And let's remember that during the red flag, officials said, guys, do anything you want to your cars. Here comes Kinser looking at Stevie Smith. Kinser made a lot of adjustments, tires, bars, they could even add fuel. So these were brand new race cars after that red flag.
Well, he almost overcooked it there as he got down low, and now he's by Stevie Smith. Took the low line and got by Stevie Smith to recapture the lead.
Stevie Smith can't let him get away. He's gonna have to conquer that lap traffic better than Kinser does if he's got a prayer.
Well, he made a great move a couple of laps to go between two lap cars, but now it looks as if the car has fallen off a little bit. Stevie Smith seems to be falling back. And here's Jack Houdenchild. He has moved up a little bit, Steve, but he's stuck around 11th position.
But that is still tremendous driving. Let's make that 10th position. The man has put on the kind of show the fans expected him to. Steve Kinser has not had that totally dominant season he's enjoyed in the past. Dave Blaney just a wink behind him in the outlaw points. But a win tonight, boy, a win at Knoxville makes your entire season.
Well, it puts a lot of money in your pocket, that's for sure. Makes up for a lot of disappointments as Steve Kinser has now gotten himself a substantial lead over Stevie Smith Jr.
Steve Kinser told me earlier, whether or not he wins here tonight, he is cutting back next year. He's not going to run for the championship. He wants to win it this year and run selected races. And I think that means the Kings Royal, the historic big one, and the Knoxville Nationals and a few others that pay a lot of money.
Well, there's no question that as the World of Outlaws series gains strength and viability, there are going to be a number of really big money races around the country, and I'm sure that Steve and his Uncle Carl, the car owner, will try to go into those races and cherry pick the big bucks.
Boy, Stevie Smith is just hanging tough. Look at this. Stevie Smith down low. He pokes up front axle underneath Kinser, but Kinser has the speed carrying out of turn number 4. Oh, Stevie Smith, what a show he has put on tonight. What a kid.
And I'll tell you what a great racetrack. Even though we had little spits of rain, this racetrack has permitted about 3 or 4 grooves. You can run high, you can run low, and you just saw an example of how 2 drivers pick 2 different lines and make them both work to their advantage.
You have to wonder if Kinser wasn't taking care of his tires and his motor. There's the white flag. And it's, and we're going to have a yellow flag. This baby is not over yet. Keith Kaufman has coasted to a stop. He suddenly has become Stevie Smith's best friend.
By outlaw rules, the race will have to finish with 2 consecutive green laps.
Kinser, Smith, Blaney, Mark Kinser, and Jeff Swindell in the top 5. Danny Lasowski, Kenny Jacobs, Andy Hillenberg, the Australian Max Dummonsey, and Freddie Raymer out of Pennsylvania in the 10th spot.
Well, if you just joined us, you picked absolutely the right time. There are 2 laps left. The green will come out, then the white, then the checker. All things considered, Steve Kinser rockets away from Stevie Smith, who has led this race on 3 separate occasions. Briefly, but he led.
I tell you what, Stevie Smith seemed to be just a little hesitant there on that restart. He really wasn't right on the nerf bar of Steve Kinser when the green dropped, and that caused him to fall back a little bit.
All right, there is Mark Kinser in the 5 car. Right now he's running 3rd, and it would appear that's probably where he's going to finish. The last lap. 4 days of fabulous winged outlaw competition in Central Iowa are about to come to an end.
And you don't think Steve Kinser's driving hard, you watch him control that race car as he comes off turn number 4 and takes the checker. Number 9 for Steve Kinser.
Number 9, $70,000, but he knew he was in a car race. This was kind of a mechanized fist fight, really, between himself, Stevie Smith, and occasionally just jumping in there to referee things, Mark Kinser.
Wow. I'm sure a lot of disappointment on the part of young Stevie Smith, and a sigh of relief for this man, Steve Kinser, who saw his chances for victory going away until a little spit of rain showed up here at Knoxville. They stopped the race, and he had a chance to readjust the chassis, and that carried him on to victory. There is the top 10. Freddie Raymer moves around Max Dummonsey at the end of the race to take over the 9th spot. Let's go down to Steve with the winner.
The 9-time Knoxville champion crawls from the 11 car, and this is one of his championships that you had to fight every inch of the way.
Oh, I tell you,
got out in the lead and sort of got a little slick, and Stevie slipped by me, and then we thought we had it again, and yellow come out on the white flag lap. I didn't need to see that, but how we got here.
Tell me about your thoughts the first half dozen laps after the restart from the rain.
Well, I felt pretty good. I sort of misguessed Stevie a little bit. I thought he might go in a little higher. When I did, I got caught behind him, and Mark got by me. Then I had to work my way back by him, and I felt pretty good. I felt a little faster, and it all just worked out well.
Mark surprised you a little bit passing you coming out of 4 there?
Yeah, surprised. Well, it didn't, because I got bottled up there a little bit, and I should have, if I'd have been smart, I'd have went there, but I didn't know what Stevie was going to do, and I just I guessed wrong with him.
Congratulations to all of you and Valvoline.
Well, Valvoline's been a good supporter with this year, and been glad to have him aboard the last couple years. And I tell you what, I needed this one for the year. I let a couple get by, and I tell you what, I'm happy. Believe me, I'm happy.
And we're happy for you, Brock.
Well, Stevie, I'm sure that everybody in this place was cheering for you, and we were too. It was a great, great show. If it had been only 13 laps long, you'd have been the winner. But I'll tell you what, I think everybody in this joint would agree that you're going to win this rascal one of these days, and probably a whole lot of times.
Well, I hope so, Brock. We ran good. The guys did a good job for me tonight. They had the car real nice. The brakes just didn't go our way. They had a red flag, and everybody was able to change. Yeah. And we didn't change anything because we felt we were pretty good. Sometimes it works that way. And I was leading the race, and Steve was moving over trying to find a faster groove. And when you're out there all by yourself, sometimes you don't know where to go. Right. And a lot of times it's better to be in second. So it worked against us one time. Maybe next time it'll go the other way.
Yeah, everybody thinks that being out front is the easy way to go, but it really oftentimes isn't, is it?
No, you can't base your laps off of it because you have nobody to go off of. Steve can move to a different part of the racetrack and judge the distance lost from me, and he can move around better that way running second. When you're leading, sometimes it's hard to find the right groove.
It sure is. Well, it was a great show. Everybody was cheering for you. Our congratulations, and we know we're going to see you in victory lane one of these years.
Okay, I appreciate it, Brock. Thanks.
Congratulations. Stevie Smith, great show. Steve?
So another Knoxville Nationals is in the books. For Brock Yates, I'm Steve Evans. So long for Knoxville 93. Want the best seat in the house for motorsports entertainment?